Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Ukraine says the situation at the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia is approaching critical. Russian forces have occupied the site, Europe's biggest, since early March. They've been urged to hand control back because of the dangers, and some staff say they're being kept at gunpoint. For the past 2 weeks, there's been heavy shelling on the plant, with the sides blaming each other. NATO is the latest international organisation to call for United Nations inspectors to be led into the plant, claiming its seizure posed a serious threat to Ukraine and neighbouring countries. Security forces have sealed off the scene in Kabul, where a large blast ripped through a crowded mosque, killing 21 people. Police say another 33 people were injured in the Afghan capital. The blast occurred during evening prayers. The mosque's imam has been reported to be among the dead. The Indian Army has returned the remains of a soldier who went missing 38 years ago to his family. Chandrasekhar, who joined the Indian Army's 19 Kumaon Battalion in 1971, went missing on May the 29th, 1984, along with 4 other soldiers, after their mission was hit by an avalanche. Now the Army has recovered his remains from the 16,000-foot glacier. Uttarakhand and Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami laid a wreath and paid his respects. A former businessman suspected of being one of the masterminds behind the genocide in Rwanda is set to appear in The Hague. 87-year-old Félicien Kabuga was arrested in France 2 years ago after escaping arrest for more than 2 decades. In the 90s, Mr. Kabuga was president of a radio station for the killing of Tutsis. He stands accused of genocide, incitement to commit genocide, and crimes against humanity.
Cooperation and dialogue. And we do so at a time when our president has put forth an Asian-Pacific initiative.
The US has announced they will begin formal trade negotiations with Taiwan weeks after a controversial visit by US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The first round of talks are expected to begin in early fall. Their discussion will include talks on trade facilitation, digital trade, and anti-corruption standards. The US-Taiwan initiative on the 21st century trade was first unveiled in June, with both sides now saying they had reached consensus on the negotiating mandate. Authorities in Spain say they have no option but to capture and put down wild boar, as they have become too used to scavenging to live back in the wild, but still pose a danger to humans. Attracted by garbage bins and people feeding them, the wild boar wander or lie about in parks and suburban streets, often causing scooter and bicycle accidents or pestering people carrying shopping bags. Barcelona alone reported 1,200 incidents involving wild boar last year. Colombian pop star Shakira said the animals had attacked her and her son as they walked in a Barcelona park.
Without capture, they learn the method, and they will stay there, they will have no competition, and the next year you will have more animals, you will have the same problem.
And finally, 2 Argentine paddleboarders made the sighting of their lives when whales swam next to them in the coastal town of Monte Hermosa. Paddleboarders Valentin Villalba and Diego Schultz told media they were surrounded by 12 whales for around an hour. The men, who did not identify the species of the whales, said they never felt fear, but instead an immense feeling of joy.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.